All right, chapter 40. Chapter 41. I was wrong. Oh man, that means I've hit a milestone. First of all, 80% of the way through Genesis. 50 chapters in Genesis, 40 done. That means we are 80% of the way through. And coincidentally, or maybe I should just say mathematically, that's 80 videos on the channel so far. One long, one short for every chapter. I cannot believe I've made that many videos. It's just consistency. Consistency and time. It's the stuff all those self-help YouTubers tell you about. Just keep doing it. It's like working out. Just gotta get in that gym, bro. But it's cool. I'm excited that there's that many videos done. Hope it amounts to something. Our chapter is Pharaoh's dreams. We had some pretty gnarly dreams in the one nice dream, one pleasant dream, and one not so pleasant dream, one that was a little horrifying. But this one's Pharaoh's dreams. Maybe this one will be like somewhere in the middle. I'll keep it balanced. It's just called Pharaoh's dreams. Beginning of chapter 41. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. What's the status of Joseph at this point? On a TV show, it would be like 2 years later. In a movie, 2 years later, fades onto the screen. It's showing like a shot of the city. We would see a shot of the pyramids, and it would be like 2 years later. Pyramids were made by this point. This is supposedly like, I don't know, 2,500 years ago. I think this takes place in like 500 BC. If anyone knows the timeline here, tell me, because I'm curious. I think it's like 500 BC, because there's a 400-year gap. This is how I'm doing the math. And there definitely could be events I'm missing here. There's a 400-year gap between the end of the Old Testament and the start of the New Testament with Jesus. And that's 0. It's year 0, or like 4 AD, or 4 BC. Jesus was born like plus or minus 4, somewhere around 0. And the Old Testament was 400 years before that, the end of the Old Testament. So I guess whatever the distance is between this story and the end of the Old Testament, because that would just be minus 2,400. I don't know, whatever. Tell me if you know. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile. I do love when like things from the real world are like things we have still kept track of and we know where they are mentioned in the Bible. You can actually go to like a bunch of the places in like Jerusalem and in Israel and in, what is it, Judea? Is that just an ancient place that we don't have anymore? Iraq, Egypt. I mean, there's all these different places you can go where like we know certain events happened. The Nile is a river that we still have, I think. I'm pretty sure it's still on the map. He was standing by the Nile when out of the river there came up 7 cows. They're just crawling out of the river. River cows. Maybe that's where cows come from. When out of the river, there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat. I waited for sleek. Is that not like the opposite of fat? Sleek, just like slippery? Sleek and fat. And they grazed among the reeds. Tasty, tasty reeds. After them, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt. Gaunt is like when your face, it's like sallow, when you have like no fat on your body. It's like your skin is sunken in. It's like the bad guy from Ratatouille. I can't remember his name, but he's the food critic, the French food critic out of Ratatouille. He has a gaunt face. Or like the Scream by whoever the famous artist is that did the Scream. That's not Picasso, is it? Is the Scream? It's like the emoji you can do in your phone. That's not Picasso. Is it Picasso? It doesn't look like his style, but maybe it's like an early one. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at it. I don't remember off the top of my head. Back to the gaunt cows. And after them, so this is after the fat cows. After them, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the riverbank. So they're next to the fat cows, I guess. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the 7 sleek fat cows. So those some hungry cows and cannibalistic. It's kind of scary, honestly. Then Pharaoh woke up. I like that they add that detail. Pharaoh then woke up after his cow dream. Pharaoh's like, ooh, that was weird. Dreaming about cannibal cows. He fell asleep again. It's incredible how we have such rich records of this night with the Pharaoh. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good. It sounds like it's going to be like a nursery rhyme. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good. Didn't grow where grains normally should. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. That's cool. Okay, so stalk like the trunk, like the stalk of the plant, and there's heads of grain growing off it, 7 of them. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched, by the east wind. Everybody knows wind from the east is the worst wind to get. Maybe it's like the desert or something, I don't know. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. Then Pharaoh woke up. I guess they're the author's telling us that the Pharaoh is realizing it had been a dream. I feel like we as the reader should know that based on the context, but just in case it wasn't clear, it had been a dream. In the morning, his mind was troubled. It's basically the same dream. I'm actually not sure why there were 2 instances of this. Maybe this will be justified. Let's find out. In the morning, his mind was troubled, so he sent for all the magicians. Ah, that's cool. Watch me pull this ribbon out of my mouth. How did that rabbit get in there? He sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. So he's like, don't just get the people who are magic, get the smart ones too. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. Who am I gonna find to interpret my dreams? Who could possibly interpret my dreams for me? Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, oh, here we go. Our cupbearer's made his return. Is he finally gonna remember? Is he not gonna forget who once interpreted dreams for him? Today I am reminded of my shortcomings. That's pretty humble. Most people are more prideful than that. Pharaoh was once angry with his servants. He talks about him in the third person. And he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. The same chief baker who was impaled and decapitated and then eaten by birds. Doesn't say that. That's me again. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now a young Hebrew was there. Why do they always refer to people as their race? And there was a Hebrew guy there. You know who he is, right? Haven't you seen the Hebrew down there? You can't miss him. There's only one Hebrew. Looks like a Hebrew, smells like a Hebrew, even talks like a Hebrew if you get a few drinks in him. Now a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream. And things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored my position, and the other man was impaled. How in the world did he forget this? It's like it's like when Doc have you seen Back to the Future? When Doc's like, "Great Scott!" The Egyptian's like, who can interpret dreams around here? And the cupbearer's like, Great Scott! I totally forgot about this guy. He was the head of the prisoners and everything. God helped him out with most of his tasks. He interpreted my dream. He interpreted that cupbearer you killed. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. Hey, man, don't worry about that time you tried to encroach on Potiphar's wife, which I guess we know he didn't, but the Pharaoh doesn't know that. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Honestly, that detail is kind of reasonable. I mean, it's like the kind of thing you wouldn't normally think about, but the fact that the Bible mentions it, it's like, oh yeah, I guess he'd be pretty smelly, have a big beard and nasty clothes. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it, but I've heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. I cannot do it. I cannot do it, Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. Sounds a lot like people today. Like, hey, what does this mean? And then like a youth pastor will be like, I can't do it. You know, like put his hand on your shoulder. But God can give you the answer you desire. Ugh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile. Are we going to get the whole thing again, even though we as the reader already know? When out of the river there came up 7 cows, fat and sleek. Yep, they just swapped the words. Not sleek and fat and sleek. And they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows came up, scrawny and very ugly. Joseph, these cows were so ugly, I can't even tell you how unappetizing they looked. Scrawny, very ugly, and lean. I had never seen such ugly cows in all the land of Egypt. That's what I just said. I perfectly predicted that. The lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows that came up first. But even after they ate them, no one could tell that they had done so. They looked just as ugly as before. Then I woke up. In my dream, I saw 7 heads of grain, full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, withered and thin, and scorched by the east wind. Sounds like Dark Souls. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 good heads, just in case the first dream wasn't enough for you to interpret. Here's another one that is all the exact same concepts with just different characters. I told this to the musicians. I told this to the magicians, but none of them could explain it to me. Do you know what it means, Joseph? Interpreter of dreams? God's chosen one? God, I gotta stop. That hurts my throat. I'm not gonna be able to talk for the next recording. I should take vocal lessons. Where do you find a vocal coach? All I know how to do is be loud and obnoxious. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God, nice, Joseph. Good job. You've got. I hadn't made that connection before, but now that you are here, man, I just might keep you around. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he's about to do. Okay, it's a little more helpful. That's practical information. The 7 good cows are 7 years. Before it was days. His cupbearer and bakers were days. Now it's years. The 7 good... Didn't he ask God to reveal it? Okay, maybe just giving credit to God. I mean, he's the one explaining it. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years. And so are the 7 worthless heads of grain, scorched by the east wind. I actually love that they say scorched by the east wind every time they talk about it. In case you're unclear about the worthless heads of grain, it's the ones scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt. Fat cows. Then all of the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. It's actually really rich information to be getting. That is an excellent way to take advantage of the economy. The abundance in the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms... Are we actually getting an answer to this? I was curious. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God. And God will do it soon. Firmly decided. So the intensity of God's decisions are based on how many variants of hints he gives. If you have more than one of the same dream with different characters, God definitely means what he's about to do. At least in this case. Maybe he never did it again after this. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Is this Joseph talking to him? Hey, Pharaoh, if you know anyone wise around here, it's time for you to put him in charge. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. Oh, so he is actually telling him to assign someone to this task. Hey, put someone up there to collect food. You're going to need it. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under what? The authority of Pharaoh, to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. Again, super helpful information, not being sarcastic. That's a good way to be remembered as a good pharaoh. How is he remembered? Do we have writings? What do we know about this that isn't the Bible? Do we have any other writings? That's what I meant. Do we have writings that are not this, that tell us about this pharaoh? We must. We must have them. We've translated hieroglyphs, I think. We have, right? The plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all of his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man? One in whom is the Spirit of God? So this was just a big alley-oop for Joseph the entire time? That is, Joseph was just cooking up Pharaoh that whole time? Hey, this is what you need to do. Find someone who can control all of this food, make it look real good, and take care of the country. And Pharaoh's like, It's that thinking emoji. I'm referencing emojis a lot, but there's an emoji for all these things. The Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all of this known to you, and there is no one so discerning and wise as you, yep, that was predictable, you shall be in charge of my palace, and all the people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. Joseph in charge of Egypt. "Hey, I'm Joseph. I'm gonna get you all the grain." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. I just picture it being like a string. It just kind of fell from one finger to the other. Whoop. Just one to the next. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. See, kids? See what happens when you follow God? He had him ride in a chariot as a second in command. What happened to Potiphar? Is Potiphar just done for? Is he just demoted all the way down? Can Joseph just make Potiphar do whatever he wants now? What happened to the wife? And people shouted before him, "Make way!" That's what happens in Aladdin. "Make way for Prince Ali." Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift a hand or a foot in all Egypt." Of course, he doesn't mean that literally. People are still allowed to walk. But he's exaggerating for the sake of illustration. I haven't heard of this before. Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zaphanath Paneah and gave him Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Okay, once again, why does the Bible do this? It's been a while since they've done it, but like, why do they just assume we know all these names? Or is it just meant, again, for record, so their names are like in history as a gesture of respect? He gave him Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Maybe it's so you know which one they're talking about. If there's multiple Potipharas, it's not this Asenath. It's the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. That one. It's that Asenath to be his wife. That's how that sentence ended. And Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. I didn't even know Joseph had a wife. I mean, I expect they all get wives. It's like their whole reason for living. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So time has been passing along all this stuff. It didn't happen in a short amount of time. It wasn't just the 2 years when he was in prison. He's been here now from 17 to 30. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. That sounds fun. I would like to have a little chariot and a wife that was forced to marry me. I wouldn't like that. That sounds like it's what happened here. They just like give women to men. That's what's been, there's never any mention of like the consent of the woman. Pharaoh gave Joseph the name and gave him Asenath to be his wife. Gave. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food, in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. Such as, what is he collecting? Grain? How long can you store this food? What is he storing for 7 years? Is it grain? Just plants? In each city, he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain. Yep, got it. I think that was like an intuitive reach in my memory. I remembered it being something about grain. Like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. That's a lot of grain. Was there a risk of people just eating all of this if it was so much that they couldn't even record it? Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God made me forget all my trouble in all my father's household." Why is it because of that? The second son he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." So both named their names for slightly different reasons. The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began. We just got 7 years just like that in one chapter. Just as Joseph had said, there was a famine in all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt, there was food. Thanks, God. Thanks for once again picking favorites because of one guy. Everyone else is starving, but not the land of Joseph. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do what he tells you." That guy right there. When the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe everywhere. I think the most severe part about this chapter is the favoritism that Joseph was shown compared to the rest of the world. God is clearly playing favorites. If that's offensive to any of you, tell me why. That's factually, obviously what is happening here. Well, God had his ways. No, other people are suffering in other countries. That's what it says. And now they're buying, even if they're not, because they're buying the grain from Joseph in Egypt, that country is being enriched more than all the others for some reason, because Joseph's there. for no other reason than the fact that he's there. Other people are suffering, or other people are less than because they're paying all the money into Egypt. I'm not an economics major, but that seems pretty clear to me. Immoral decision making on God's part. That's how I'm saying that. Flat out immoral decision making. And feel free to argue it. I will read arguments for that. If you put them in the comments, I will read them. On your mark, get set, go. That's it for chapter 41. Chapter 42 is Joseph's brothers go to Egypt. Ooh, we're gonna see his brothers again, Levi and Benjamin and Reuben Sandwich. He's gonna make his return probably. Don't actually know yet. Tune in for the next one.